The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
After a big, strong need to know, I saw you kind of close your eyes and stretch your neck and put your head back there, Kip Keefer. I was a little concerned.
Yeah, to be imploring the American public it takes a lot out of you. I was really down. It's a rallying cry.
And I don't realize you're probably one of the most patriotic people I know, and I know how just discussing some of these things that are going on in this crazy country of ours can be. Something that is just mind-boggling, and of course we have a lot going on now with the government shutdown, hopefully ending sometime later this week. That'd be a wonderful thing. I know you'll have a lot to say about that, and you nailed it. You talked about it. I already wrote up my tag. You knew about this a long time ago, and you knew what it was going to take to end it, so we'll talk about that as we go. I want it to be a little lighter, though. This past Saturday night, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducted his brand new class in. Bad Company, Soundgarden,
Good.
Cyndi Lauper, White Stripes, Chubby Checker, Joe Cocker, Outkast, and Salt and Pepper, and Warren Zevon got in for the Musical Influence Center. So there's like you don't have to be in musically speaking in for the Rock and Roll. They'll always figure out a way if you're due to get in. Like Devo may get in one day for some type of musical influence. They use a musical influence. It's like someone feels like they needed to get in, and so they'll figure out some way to get them in, and they separate them and make it a musical influence kind of thing.
Yeah, that we talked about this before because you and I are both from the Baseball Hall of Fame equivalent, huge Pete Rose fans.
Yes.
I told you I was shocked when I went there last summer and found out that Pete Rose is very much in the Hall of Fame. There's like 3 exhibits where he's got his uniform and his bats and all kinds of stuff.
He's got his own wing up there in Cooperstown is what he's
got.
So
what you're telling me, that's what it reminded me of. It's like, well, we're not going to put Warren in really for what his career is, but for his influence. Well, to me, if you've got an exhibit there and you got stuff in the Hall of Fame, you're in the Hall of Fame. I don't care what they call it.
Now, I'm going to plead with you. And you and I have been around for a long period of time. We just in the last 2 or 3 years really gotten to know each other, and we're working together. We get the TV show you do, and it's fantastic. And I'm so happy to be part of that with you. We work together in so many different, and I love this Keefer and Kurre show. You got to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You owe it to yourself to go at least.
Yeah,
it should be a bucket list.
You just got to get me to Cleveland. That's
Hey.
I've been to Cleveland once, and I vowed I would probably never go back. But
I would go.
Yeah. I would go for that because I love your stories. We talked about this before. You actually picked up the phone and talked to Yoko Ono.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. It is like, and a lot of people are like, is it like Hard Rock Cafe? And I'm like, no. I mean, obviously there's autograph stuff and there's different clothes and stuff like that, but it goes so much more deeper than that. There are some parts that are very adult, that are aspects of rock and roll because there's this thing called Woodstock, and it's there in all of its glory.
Wow.
There are some things that are some rated R in there because that's what rock and roll is. That's what rock and roll is.
And Woodstock was definitely rated R.
There's some pictures from Woodstock there that you will not see on any documentary.
Maybe worse than R.
Yeah. So I would implore you. And then the top floor, the 5th floor, I believe it's the 5th floor of the pyramid, is an exhibit that changes out every, I don't think it's like 6 to 9 months. It could be Elvis Presley, could be Elton John, it could be John Lennon, could be whatever. And that entire floor, and it's just amazing. You cannot. I
really want to go.
Appreciate it. You really need to check it out. So I've been on so many TV stations, so many radio programs about rock and roll because it's what I've been doing since I was 12 years old, about which bands aren't in, which bands should be in. And so I've had a running list of the last 10 years because I always had to go back and go, are you sure they're not in? Make sure. And then
we've talked about that specifically on this. I was shocked some of the ones you told me aren't in.
Yeah. So I want you to, and I'm going to give you the list of bands that aren't in. Okay. The only thing that you have to do is have an album at least 25 years old, period. That's all you got to do. They've got this fan vote. I'm not sure why they have this fan vote. Last year, Fish got by far the most fan votes, 330,000 votes, but they still didn't make it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. A fan vote.
So why do they bother with a vote then?
If you get the top fan vote, you get one extra vote added to the rest of
Oh,
the people,
okay.
yeah, which is really kind of horseshit because
Sounds
that's the
like
same.
maybe we need to put them in charge of the college football playoff. That
Well,
sounds like
yeah, I
about
mean, if you're gonna do it
as
with a
sensible a system.
exactly. So with the likes of Salt and Peppa and Cindy Lauper, you could certainly make it the Go-Go's are in. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be.
Yeah, I don't know.
But now rather than say should a band be in, I want you to tell me if you think these bands will ever make it in.
Okay.
Okay, because it's going to be a little different. For example, um, Phil Collins is not in the Hall of Fame. Now he's in with Genesis.
Yeah.
At one point, Phil Collins was played more than any other artist in FM radio history. I think someone said at one point that like he was on every 8 seconds on a radio somewhere in this country because he was doing the Disney thing, he was doing the Genesis thing, he was doing the solo thing. He was super, super, super successful solo wise. There is no reason why Phil Collins should not be in the Hall of Fame, and I'm going to start with the ones right at the top that I think are
Yeah.
just
Well, let me ask you a
ball.
question. I probably asked you this question before. There are obviously are people that are in with their bands and in solo. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes,
mean,
for
that's just
example,
logical.
yeah,
I can't imagine John Lennon's
John
not in
Lennon's,
the Hall of Fame
Paul
and
McCartney.
is in with the Beatles.
Paul McCartney certainly in for both. George Harrison, I
Yeah.
believe, is in for both.
So
Eric Clapton, I think, is in three
yeah,
times.
so under that criteria, Phil Collins absolutely should be in as a solo.
Absolutely. Here are the ones that they're talking about for next year. Phil Collins is the first one. Brian Adams.
Yeah. I think Brian Adams had a string of hits and was influential. I certainly would say he should be in.
I agree. And I think the fact that there's a relevancy part to me that, like Billy Idol, I would have never put in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 15 years ago. Has he done anything in the last 15 years? No. But the fact that he's in these work commercials and he's still on the road and he's still rocking and rolling and he's still showing up on late night television, I think there's something to be said about the relevancy, the fact that he's still out there.
And he was great in the movie The Wedding Singer. He was great in that movie.
Yes. Yeah.
He played himself and it was awesome.
Remember
on the plane, he was leading interference and singing the bad boyfriend that Drew Barrymore was involved in or whatever. And
extremely relevant.
So he's still relevant.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Sade, I don't even talk about her. Iron Maiden.
Yeah, I mean, that's not my genre really, but I certainly, when you say Iron Maiden, you certainly think they're probably worthwhile.
I would agree with you. And not only now, they certainly should get in from a musical influence standpoint. I remember their stage show was unlike anything that we had ever seen before. Before Alice Cooper came out with Snakes, before Kiss came, the makeup and stuff, they had these giant puppet looking fucking things. It was crazy ass shit. I mean, it was satanic. It was crazy ass stuff. They only had a couple of hits, Run for the Hills, which is a fantastic song. Mariah Carey is going to make it in, period.
Yeah,
I mean,
she'll make it in just from the cultural aspect.
Well, but she's got the #1 Christmas song of all time. She's sold millions and millions of records. Here's one for you. Weird Al Yankovic.
Now, that is an interesting thing. I think maybe he should be in the Comedy Hall of Fame, but in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that's what it's called. Shouldn't it just be called the Music Hall of Fame, Tony?
Well, it should be, but if they just did the Music Hall of Fame, I think it would be too broad. And then you're talking bluegrass. Then you're talking about folk.
But on what planet is Weird Al Yankovic a rock and roll performer? I just don't see that.
The idea that, and I'm pulling up how many albums Weird Al Yankovic has sold, and he has sold since 1976. He has sold more than 12 million albums. Which is pretty incredible, and he has performed in more than 1,000 shows.
But I would argue that's comedy. I don't think it's rock and roll.
No, but I will say this: David Sears, who produces all of our shows here on Tony Kurre Radio, does just a fantastic job. Is a huge Weird Al fan, and Weird Al actually played the BJCC Concert Hall last year.
No way,
and it was sold out. It was sold out.
Unbelievable.
It
So
was
David
sold
Sears, a
out.
Weird Al guy. How
He's a
about
Weird Al
that?
guy. It makes sense. He's like that Weird Al guy. That's why I love him so much. But it was sold out weeks, months in advance. Weird Al. So he's got a contingency. He's got a P1 group. He's got a group of fans that love his music. He's the only one that's really made parodies of music in our lifetime. I can't think of another guy who's made parodies and is really, again, it sold 12 million albums. So there's something to be said about Weird Al Yankovic. I think, will he make it in? Will someday you and I be up in heaven hanging out with Jackson Brown, and we'll look down and it'll be the year 2078 and they'll go, Weird Al's finally in. And we probably, we did a show on that. Well, back in 2025, and we both agreed that maybe Weird Al was going to make it in. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, he needs to be in some Hall of Fame. I'm just not sure if it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Before I go off on any more names, because I got a list and I have not forgotten one, I don't want to take away any opportunities for you to throw in any names of people that perhaps you would think would be in the Rock and Roll of Fame. To your point, Dolly Parton made it into the Rock and Roll of Fame. People need to get past the whole Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's just a name.
Yeah.
It's the Hall of Fame.
And country and rock and roll have intersected in a lot of ways that you can argue. So I don't have as big a problem with Dolly because she has certainly been a major force in the music business and I think is deserving.
I mean, Alabama is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now that Dolly's in, I think that will open the door for Alabama.
More country
certainly should get in. Garth Brooks should definitely be in. He's crossed over numerous times.
Yeah, definitely.
So he'll definitely. But is there anybody else before I rip through these songs? I love doing this. I love to get your thoughts on these.
I mean, I don't study it, and I'm not as up to date on that who's in and not in. So I really don't have anybody right off the top of my head. But
all right, then I'm gonna rip through them then. America.
I think America was a phenomenally successful band, and you still, if you listen to any classic rock, America song pops up just in about every rotation.
I agree with you.
So I think America is a slam dunk.
And again, if you don't have any thoughts on these, just skip them. Scorpions.
Yeah, because
Scorpions.
What?
Scorpions.
Oh, yeah. See, I don't know enough about them to make a comment.
Yeah. BTO.
Yeah, I think so. Once again, too, in my youth, they were a major force, and there's still song. I think their biggest legacy, Tony, is people are still using their songs for advertising jingles. You still hear it. They really culturally placed themselves because that was Elvis Presley's "Taking Care of Business" was his. TCB. So I think they had a huge impact and were commercially successful enough. I think absolutely they should be in.
You ain't seen nothing yet. Still used in commercial stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Here's one, despite the fact that they only had, I think, 3, maybe 4 albums, Boston.
Yeah, and Boston, they would have been as big as just about anybody, but and you probably know the story behind it. I'm sure it was some kind of dispute or whatever, or they just got rich and lazy. But Boston just kind of stopped right when they were at their hottest point, and who knows what could have been, because Boston was initially successful, and I mean they were rolling when they just stopped.
More than a feeling. I will go on a limb and say you can make an argument that More Than a Feeling, that song is the most influential song on rock and roll history. It was so before its time. It was so different. Tom Schultz was using all these different synthesizers and all these different sounds and stuff like that. They weren't a band that really went out and promoted their LPs with live entertainment. But then they did the Don't Look Back album, which was as commercially successful as the first one. And then all of a sudden, like you said, they went 13, 14 years. And I remember they came out. And I forget I think the song was Amanda. They came out and their first single from the third, it was called The Third Stage, was Amanda. And it was just a slow song. And I was like, oh, what are we doing here? But they had Cooley Engines on it, several other songs that were really good. And I think they may have had a 4th album. But from an influential standpoint, definitely Boston should be in. We mentioned Phil Collins, Grand Funk Railroad.
Oh, absolutely. They were a huge part of the explosion of what's now classic rock, but Grand Funk Railroad, big time.
I totally agree with you. John Fogerty, he's in with CCR. He should be in solo, right? I mean,
that's another one. He had enough of a solo career. I mean, I think most of his bigger hits were with CCR, but but John Fogerty was another guy who's just a major force. He definitely should be recognized as a solo.
How about the Guess Who?
Oh, if they're not in,
No, they're not.
that's
in.
unbelievable.
I know,
These,
right?
these are ones that you're really hitting home with me, because these are, I still go out, I tell you, and spread out my chair. I probably won't do it today. It's like 40 degrees outside, but I put my headphones on. That's my escape. Listen to this kind of music. And the Guess Who? Absolutely.
This next band, and I didn't realize, won for Best Heavy Metal Album in 1989 and had 16 gold and platinum albums.
Good grief.
And they're not in the Hall of Fame. That would be one Jethro Tull.
See, that's inexcusable to me. How is that possible? Some of the ones you just mentioned that just went in, Jethro Tull, I'm going to take Salt and Pepper ahead of Jethro Tull. That's absurd.
Were you, let's say you were around because you're my age. Do you remember when it was maybe just a little before our time, actually? But I remember my brother coming home and playing the entire Thick as a Brick album, and it was unlike anything I'd ever heard before. It was with the flute, and
they were cutting edge.
They were cutting edge. I've gotten a chance to meet Ian Anderson. I met him at City Stages. He actually played right after the Edgar Winter Group. The Edgar Winter Group played, and then for people who don't remember, City Stages was a great 3-day festival here in Birmingham until we screwed it up and people started stealing money from it.
And Edgar Winter's probably not in it either.
So. No, they're not. Edgar Winter's definitely not a Kansas.
Kansas, absolutely too. You're in my era now. This is these are hitting home. If the modern powers that be don't recognize that the only reason we have music like we have now is because these kind of cutting edge bands that plowed the road way back when, and Kansas was right in the middle of that too.
Did you put Meatloaf in?
What's that?
Meatloaf? Did you put Meatloaf in?
I think so.
I do too.
I saw him twice live, and I think I told you the last time we did this, when Meatloaf and I think her name was Carla DeVito did Paradise by the Dashboard Lights. It was the best thing in concert I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, and Meatloaf, I guarantee you, he was a kind of a big old boy, but he expended so much energy. I mean, that guy was dripping with sweat after his first two numbers. I mean, he was just such a dynamic performer, and of course, he was culturally significant. His role in Fight Club, he was just phenomenal in that role.
I forgot all about that. When it's all said and done, will the Monkees be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, see, the Monkees is a hard one for me, because when I was in second grade, I think the Monkees were big.
Influential though, right? Influential. I mean, the show was on.
But they did. But they didn't
even know how to play instruments when the show first came on the air. And they said, listen, if you want to go on tour, you're going to have to learn how to play instruments. They all learned how to play and be in a band together, which is amazing to me.
It was. Michael Nesmith knew how to play guitar, but Davy Jones never did anything but bang the cymbals, and they had Mickey Dolenz banging on the drums. And Peter Tork, I don't know what his deal was. I think he just held his guitar.
Peter Tork,
But they were actors. They were young actors that were recruited for that role, and just the audacity of the whole Monkees, and how many albums. I know I was an absolute addict in elementary school. I had to have my Monkees albums.
Well, they had the best of, so they had enough to get the best
some of their
Monkees.
songs are really good. I love "I'm a Believer," Daydream Believer. I guess I didn't realize they both had the same name. But Last Train to Clarksville, they had a lot of great songs.
Well, those were written by who was that was written by not Neil Sedaka, Neil Diamond. Didn't he write some
Neil
of those
Diamond
songs?
was involved, and some big producer, Tommy somebody, I can't remember, but yeah, but that was just the audacious nature of the Monkees becoming just a created band who sold tons of albums. Very notable. I mean, I think when you look at a Hall of Fame career, it's not just album sales, it's not just hits, it's just how they came to be and what their stories are, and it's like recognizing, once again, from the sports standpoint, maybe some guys get in that just kind of change the direction of the game somehow, or we're defining like a Lawrence Taylor certainly was going to be in the Hall of Fame just based on his performance on the field. But that guy changed the game, and he changed the philosophy of defense. You didn't have really edge rushers. A blitz was not.
He was the edge rusher. He was like, if you look up
he
edge rusher, he was
redefined the whole position of outside linebacker.
A guy that I put him right there with Phil Collins. I cannot believe he's not in because and he's still on the road, and he's right now he's doing bluegrass. But Robert Plant,
no kidding, that's impossible.
Should be in solo. He should be solo. I mean, obviously Led Zeppelin, but I mean he had such a huge solo effort. What about Sting?
Yeah,
the police are in.
Sting's not individually in.
No,
I think some of his solo stuff is as good as, I mean, the Police had a tremendous string of hits, but Sting obviously should be honored. I guess I'm voting for most of these people, so I guess we need to build a bigger facility. But
then that's good because we're talking about this. It's going to have to stay open, right? I mean, so this is not going to be a place that's closing out. They'd only eventually run out of.
But my fear, Tony, is that as we get farther away from the influence of these people, a lot of the names that you're saying now are 70s and 80s. As we go forward and we start honoring more and more of the current people, did some of these people get left in the dust? That's my fear.
Yeah, I think you may be right. I mean, for example, Snoop Dogg next year will be able to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is, and so maybe, and again, Mariah Carey will get in. She sold 100 million albums. But maybe hold on to her for a little bit. There's no reason.
Snoop needs to be in the best marketing Hall of Fame because Snoop has gotten involved in so many different things, and you talk about a wide range. Snoop is the greatest marketer of himself.
Dude, he was just a stoner, man. He was a stoner. He couldn't sell anything, and all of a sudden now he's on everything. He's selling socks with Martha Stewart, for God's sakes.
Yeah, he's made himself mainstream, which is just that's the greatest marketing achievement of all time.
REO Speedwagon.
Yeah, I think so. They were certainly extremely successful and very influential, and I like their story of how they came to be too. So yeah, I'm an REO guy.
And still on the road, and it's probably just because of Tommy Shaw, but Styx. They're in, right? They should be in, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think Dennis DeYoung is singing with them anymore, but I think they're playing now. I see commercial. I think they're playing one of the Porch Creek Indian joints down south.
I wouldn't be surprised. That's a great place to there's a whole new circuit out there now of places these guys can go.
If they're willing to pay it, they're willing to play it. Dan Fogelberg.
Come on. You know my feelings on that. Dan was one of my guys. I saw him on one of his last performances live at Chastain Park in Atlanta. Probably saw him 12 or 13 times over about a 10 or 15 year period. Anytime he toured, we went wherever we needed to go to see him, and then caught him here or in Atlanta. Dan Fogelberg, one of the, and we talked about this last time, and I don't know if being a skilled musician counts, but Dan Fogelberg had guitar ability that was just incomparable to a whole lot of people. He invented a lot of different sounds and chords that a lot of guys never even explored. Not to mention he was a great lyricist. Yeah. Some of the most beautiful lyrics, and still just so moving to me. You talk about a guy I connected with his music. Dan is one of my. If I had a Hall of Fame, Dan would be in the entry hallway with the 3 or 4 others.
I agree. There's another guy that I like as much as you like Dan Fogelberg that I just cannot believe he's not in. The Doobie Brothers.
That's just shocking.
Michael McDonald should be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yes, absolutely, he should be.
First of all, he sang with like 17 different bands. He's done everything from Steely Dan to Toto to the Doobie Brothers to Kenny Loggins. I mean, he has sang so many great songs with some, and of course, he had an incredible solo tour. I got a chance to see him with the Doobie Brothers a couple of years ago at Oak Mountain Amphitheater before they tore the place down. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen. And he just sat in the back. You would think that they'd come out and let Michael just do some solo stuff. He didn't do one solo record the entire night. It was all Doobie Brothers stuff, which was really cool because he was one of the guys. But it was fantastic. He was great.
You had to real quick, just because you had so much with the heartbeat of this city in terms of music. You had to be kind of emotional about Oak Mountain being torn
Oh,
down? Because I know you had extraordinary moments there.
yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe they tore it down without telling anybody. That's the part that bothered me. When Talladega went through their remodification, if you will, on 10 or 15 years ago, they were giving away seats. You could get a seat from the Talladega Super Speedway. I've got one downstairs. I thought it was cool. I thought it was an actual seat because they were going to throw the things away. It would have been great if we could have, as fans, you could have sold the hell out of them.
Yeah, just get some piece of nostalgia.
Yeah, just a piece of nostalgia because there were so many great. I'm not even sure when Oak Mountain opened up. I know it was raring to go when we got here in 1988. There were so many great events and so many great. I mean, seeing Stevie Ray Vaughan there in his last concert, seeing Joe Cock. I mean, I used to live out there, man. I was out there 2 or 3 nights a week. I love that place. And now it's just there's nothing. I even thought to myself, I knew they were opening up one downtown, and that's great. I think it's beautiful, but I thought, man, would it be great to get together with a bunch of fans and see if we could raise enough money to keep that place open? I don't know what the hell we do with it, but I mean, it would. But I just thought it was fantastic. But Michael McDonald definitely should be. What about Huey Lewis, the News?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were very impactful and very popular for a while. I mean, and again, I am going to admit completely here. I do it on my radio show. Warning: Kip Keefer is biased. I am biased to that era over the modern era, and that's just. I think that's probably most people, around our age group is probably going to be. But you keep naming influential bands that were highly successful. So sure, I don't see any reason why Huey Lewis and the News aren't in because at one time they were massive.
Power of Love, huge song.
Oh,
they've sold over 30 million albums. I remember the album Picture This. They had Working for the Weekend. It also had
and isn't one of the main criteria sales and
no, it's just 25 years.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're a bum. If you okay, I got it.
Do You Believe in Love was one of their huge hits. Then they came out with that Heart and Soul thing. And I guess it was what was it called? Sports. That was just fantastic, and I love it. It's a 30 million album. So definitely it was. Bread.
Yeah, because bread defined a whole romantic era. All the Bread songs were, you could go back. They were short and kind of sappy, but boy, they tugged at the heartstrings. And in that era, there was not a young woman on earth that was just not addicted to Bread songs.
Do you remember the lead singer's name?
It's one of those things at this age. I was just getting ready to say him by name, and my brain went, "Oh, we don't have that information."
He had a huge solo career, but he also had a huge solo hit for the song "Goodbye Girl."
Oh yeah,
the movie "Goodbye Girl."
Of course, with Richard Dreyfuss.
Great movie.
Okay, it's right on the tip of my tongue.
I'll tell you if you want to know it.
Put me out of my agony.
David Gates, yeah.
David Gates, of course. Yeah.
I remember that "Goodbye Girl" was a great song. It was. Actually, I was actually going. Sometimes you guys scroll through your phone. I scroll through old classic rock things, and I found this interview with David Gates in Britain from like 2012 or something. I don't know. And he had this cowboy hat on. He almost looked like Burt Reynolds. And he had just sold like a ranch of 16,000 acres or something out in Wyoming or something. He was out there ranching his entire life after they did the bread thing. He just went out there and started ranching. He was super happy. And the last one I got is Toto. I think Toto has just done, I think the whole resurgence or the resurgence, if you will.
Yeah, because Africa has become, I was informed by my son the other day, Africa has come back and become huge again.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's been re-recorded by some people, and Africa is a great song. I really don't know what the hell it's about, but I still, anytime it comes on my headphones, excellent Africa.
Black Jacket Symphony, Black Jacket Symphony just did their big yacht rock show down at the BJCC concert hall, and Africa was one of the songs. They played Rosanna, which is a great song from Toto, and then they played. They played, and Toto, another one of those situations where if you go back and look and just pull up the Wikipedia page of Toto, man, like 3 or 4 of their members have played with everybody.
Oh yeah,
from like Hall & Oates to the Doobie Brothers. I mean, these guys are great session guys. It's like if they had a problem with a song, they go, call one of the guys from Toto. They'll know how to play it. I mean, and someone would come in and man to play it, and they had such a distinctive sound that just sounded so good. It was so yacht rockish, so late '80s sounding. But yeah, Toto definitely should be in for sure. Well, thanks for going. Thanks for going. I love going through the list of these things, and I think honestly, I was going to throw in Sammy Hagar. I think Sammy Hagar should probably be in there too. But I think eventually we've still got plenty of time. We got plenty of artists that can still make it in. I want the Hall of Fame. Well, let me ask you this: which Hall of Fame, out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame, Canton, Ohio, I'll throw the NHL in because you're NBA. Which Hall of Fame is the most difficult, do you think, to get into?
I'm going to say probably right now, just from a political standpoint, baseball, because you've got guys that certainly just jump right off the page that need to be in, but there's so much controversy about the steroid issues. And at the time, and this is kind of an unfair aspect of it, but, you've got guys like Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa that are kind of shut out now. But at the time that was going on, steroids were not prohibited.
No.
They didn't clamp down on that until I remember when Mark McGwire was having his monster year. He had, right in his locker when he was doing interviews, they would point out that he's got, I forgot which is Andreas.
He had creatine.
Andro, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he had it on display right there in his locker because it was not prohibited at the time. Now, did that enhance performance? I don't know. I think it enhanced your ability to build yourself up and be a workout. Barry Bonds went from being just kind of a regular guy to this kind of pumped up Lou Ferrigno Hulk character. And so that certainly had a lot to do with their success, but you still had to time a fastball and hit it out of the park. I mean, I don't care how big and strong you were. I don't think that really increased your reflex ability or anything. So I really wrestle with that, but that's such a controversial topic right now that in recent years, we've only been seeing like one guy get in the Baseball Hall of Fame at a time because some of these deserving players, there's all this stain on their career. It's like, oh, he must have been doing, he had good stats, but he must have been doing the juice at the time. A couple of years ago, Scott Rowland was the only inductee. Scott Rowland was like a 280 career hitter. Pete Rose had literally twice as many, plus a couple of hundred more hits than Scott Rowland in his career. And there Scott Rowland is in the Hall of Fame. Although Pete, as I mentioned, is definitely in. So I would say the Baseball Hall of Fame right now is probably the most difficult to access just because there's so much controversy about who should be considered.
Well, maybe we'll make it into I know you're into the Announcer Hall of Fame, or you've been picked to do something. Aren't you you're in the Track Announcers Hall of Fame, or you were picked to be in the Track Announcers Hall of Fame?
I don't think we have our own Hall of Fame for track announcers.
You should.
But the Greyhound Racing Hall of Fame in Abilene, Kansas, there's been some mumblings that I might be considered there at some point because after 40 years, I did just about everything in that business, and I'm continuing in that business. So,
and I'll be there to see it happen too, man. All right, coming up again tomorrow, we're going to be doing our K4 Wins. Tomorrow will be Veterans Day. So we're going to be doing a salute to all of our great veterans. Tomorrow we'll be remembering you, and of course everyone who's serving our armed forces right now. We'll do our show K4 Wins 10 o'clock Central Time. We'll do it again on Friday.
Yeah, speaking of Baseball Hall of Famers, Ted Williams, of course, took 4 years off from his career to fight in World War II and was shot down 3 times as a fighter pilot and survived and came back and completed his career with the Red Sox.
How about that?
That is big time.
Yeah, that's why Marilyn went and hung out with him. He had it going on, didn't he? I mean, that was that was good stuff. That's good stuff. All right, check us out again. Of course, our fantastic TV show too. The starting lineup. We had Sheila Smoot on this past week, which was nice. She was. I haven't seen Sheila in years. It was great to see her. She's a pill, man. She's one of these gals where she's always in a good mood. Her mouth moves like a duck's ass. It never stops. And I can see. I didn't realize she was doing the Keller Williams thing, so I can certainly see my next house being sold by her. But she's fantastic. So check us out. You can do that wherever you see Tony Kurre Radio, wherever you see Kip Keefer, wherever you see any of our stuff. You can check out our TV show, and of course, make sure you check out all of our websites as well. We're everywhere. That is the starting lineup, 10:30, 11 o'clock coming up this Saturday morning. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
Tony, it's right back at you. Always fun to talk rock and roll, especially from my era.
Yeah, baby.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.